Hello, thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia. This video is part of a launch party for the new 23 to 24 annual catalogue. This is the card that I'm going to be making. It folds flat, that will go into an envelope, but it is a Z fold, so it will stand on its own. Hopefully I've got that camera angle right that you can see what it looks like. I am going to change the colors for the card that I'm going to make now. Let's have a look at the products that we're using. First up, we've got the Beautiful Balloons stamp set. This is part of the Bright and Beautiful suite, and it has a matching die set, which are all over the show because I've been busy cutting with them. I'm not using the DSP that's part of the suite. I'm going to go a little bit rogue, and I'm using the Hello Irresistible DSP, which is part of the online exclusive. You won't find this DSP in the catalogue, but if you go onto the online store, you'll find that DSP pack. I'm also using this embossing folder, which is also part of the online exclusives. This is the spotty one. It's called the Basics Embossing Folder Pack, and it comes with 3 embossing folders. Another one from the online exclusive, we're using the Gold and Silver Trim Combo Pack. I'm going to be using the gold ribbon from that one. And lastly, we're using the brushed metallic dots, which are in the annual catalogue, and these have carried over from last year. Right, let's get started. These are the measurements that you're going to need. Starting off, I'm going to do some scoring. Now, both my pieces of cardstock are the same length, and we're going to score them at 7.4 centimeters and at 14.8. If you're working in Imperial, that's going to score at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. And we've got those same measurements on the smaller piece. Now when we fold them, we're just going to fold one piece one way and the other one the other way. Give it a press with your bone folder, and we're doing the same with our card base. Let's get our stamping done, and then we'll move on to the assembly. The colors that I'm using: Pretty Peacock, Daffodil Delight, and Lost Lagoon. Now, Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock actually work quite well together. Although they're not the exact same color, they almost work as if the one is a lighter shade of the other. Oops. Okay, so you can see those do go nicely together. I'm going to take this splotchy looking stamp, and with my Lost Lagoon, I'm going to stamp 2 of these. And I'll show you exactly what we're using it for once I've got the stamping done. That's slightly off the page, but that doesn't matter. Then I'm taking the big balloon from the stamp set. Now you can stamp this full strength, but I'm going to stamp it off gently so that when I stamp it over here, it's giving us that second generation stamping which makes it look a bit more like a balloon that's stretching, where you see, you know, it goes lighter and darker in the rubber. Now, before I put that one away, I just want to stamp another one of these splotches onto my Lost Lagoon. We'll give this a clean. And then I'm going to stamp that onto Daffodil Delight. So here we're going tone on tone, but you will still see that stamping. And I'm going to stamp another one of my balloons stamped off onto the Daffodil Delight. So you can see the difference. I didn't really stamp off on that one, whereas here I have, so it gives it a much more transparent look. We're not finished with our stamping yet. On my tag, I decided that I wanted the tag to go upright. So we're going to stamp my happy birthday, and I figured out that the happy birthday, although it does work nicely if the tag is in landscape, it fits when the tag is in portrait. So we're going to just stamp the happy birthday again with the pretty peacock. And I'm going back to my splotchy balloon. Now I don't want this yellow to be too dark because we want to be able to see the sentiment. So again, stamp off. And then I'm going to stamp it over there and stamp off and stamp it more towards the top. Then there's lots of fun little bits in the stamp set. This is little confetti swirls. So I'll just, this time I'm using Lost Lagoon. I want it to be a bit paler than my sentiment is. And we'll just stamp some of those all over the show. Maybe some coming off here. There we go. We want to stamp our sentiment. Pull in the pretty peacock again, and this time I'm talking about the sentiment that's going inside over here. Really nice sentiment, this one. I think it's time for a celebration. I think that one's going to be very useful for lots of cards. Now, before we put away the stamps, I want to stamp a piece that's going to go onto the back of the card for us to write our note. Again, I'm going to stamp off with the pretty peacock, and we'll just stamp that it's heading off the page. And this is my Pebbled Path ink pad. This is one of the new in colors, and I really like this one just for our balloon strings. And I may have got pretty peacock on my finger, but we'll fix that up later. Right, so that's all our stamping done. Before I put my ink pads away, I just want to do a bit of blending over my cardstock. So this time around I'm using the pretty peacock for my card base. I'm going to use Daffodil Delight for the pieces that go on top. The DSP that I'm using, although I showed you it's from the Hello Irresistible pack, I'm using this piece, and that one is cut to the wrong size, but it's got the Daffodil Delight and Pretty Peacock colouring in it. So I've used 2 different pieces here, and I've put it through that embossing folder so you can see it's got the bumps on it. Now I want to make my pieces here look a little bit like that, where they've got the extra colour blended on and they're a little bit splotchy. So let's just cut this piece to the correct size. I was obviously thinking a standard card base, and this one's a little bit shorter. That's going to be 10 centimeters over there. And I'm taking my blending brush and I'm going to go with my Lost Lagoon. If it doesn't work, we can always add Pretty Peacock, but if it's too dark, I can't take it off. So it's easier to go lighter and add more than go too dark and then have to take it off. I just want a little bit of that colour to match the DSP and tone down that bright yellow slightly. Just brush off so that you don't get a big splotch when you touch down. One more piece. So what I meant was, if I go like that, you can see you get that great big blob, but if I've brushed it off first, then I'm not going to get that on my card. Before I put that away, I want to take my tag and add a little bit of the colour around the edge with my blending brush. It's probably got enough ink on it that I don't need to dip it in the ink again, but we just want that little bit of colour coming around the edge of my tag. There we go. Now we're going to do some die cutting with my splotchy bits over here. So it's this solid one. If I put it onto my splotch, it's just the right size, and when I cut it out, we're getting the balloon that looks like that. And then that die will fit around those ones. So when we cut them out, it does have a little bit of a white border. I cut the border off here, but I think this time I'm going to leave it on. We'll see what it looks like. If I don't like it, I'll go and cut it off, but I thought that maybe I want the white border this time. Okay, so once we've done all our stamping and we've got all our balloons cut out, we are ready to start assembling. First of all, I'm going to stick my DSP onto the back of the card over here. And then this piece, which I've now cut down to the right size, is going to come onto the front. Stick my note panel, or my writing panel, onto the back. Now, when I stick the Z fold, it's going in the opposite direction to this one. So here we had the long piece at the back. This one, the long piece is going in the front. When you do a Z fold card, it's your choice whether you want your Z right along the bottom, or you can lift it up so that you've got a bit of space on the side here. I'm going to stick it along the bottom. But before we do that, let's add these panels. The long ones here. And just make sure that when you stick this, you're sticking them along, that they're all on the same side of the cardstock. So although it's going to stick and fold down, you want all of these pieces that they're running alongside each other. I fold my Z fold up again, turn it over, and I'm putting glue along that small piece and along this half of the big piece. And then we can stick it down. Just give a few seconds for that glue to set. Hang on to it. And there we have our Z fold. And now we're ready to start decorating. Let's just see that. Okay, so we're going to start with one of my big balloons at the back. And just making sure that it's on the sides and on the top of the card. I don't want it going over because then it's going to cause problems when it goes into the envelope. I obviously stamped the back of this one and didn't like the stamping, so we turned it over and stamped again. Here it's okay if it goes over the edge, but just be careful that you haven't got glue there, because otherwise you're going to stick your card closed, which is not what we want to do. And then I'm taking my two little splotchy ones, and we'll put one over here. And my last little one is going onto dimensionals. So that one's sitting in front of the others over there. Now my sentiment, my tag over here, I'm sticking that flat, but just be careful because we only want glue sort of on the bottom slightly more than half, because we don't want to stick the card closed again. Going there. Now when I'm positioning this balloon, I want it so that it's sitting, that when my card is closed, you can see there, it's just behind the tag, so it's not that obvious, but we're going to see it when it opens. Alright, so let's put our glue on and then we'll position it. There we go, sitting just behind the tag. I think that I actually cut this piece a bit wider than I did that one, which is why that balloon is sitting lower there, but that's okay. And our inside sentiment, I'm going to put that onto a pretty peacock mat. The measurements that I gave you earlier are for that width of that Z that goes over. So if you wanted it to be narrower, then this is 5.5 centimeters, that would be 5 centimeters. So I can't remember the inch measurement, but just make it 1/4 of an inch smaller than whatever we've given you there. And then that's going to over there. Maybe shift it up just a little bit. And the last thing that our balloons need are some bows. Here's some tiny little bows that I tied out of that ribbon combo. A glue dot on each one. There we are. And one on the front, one over there. Right, so there's our two Z folds in the two different colors, and obviously they would stand like that. It's always awkward with the camera angle because you get a nice view from the top, but you're not actually seeing it. So the card would stand and look something like that when it's standing. Now this is a very simple fun fold, and as I said that, I just realized that we're missing one more thing. We need a dot over the hole. If it will stick. I think that one I may have pulled off and left the glue behind. Okay, now it's finished because it has all its holes dotted and balloons tied. So as I was saying, this is a very simple Z fold. If you like fun folds, please pop over to my blog, traceofcreativity.com. I do have a collaboration with 12 other ladies where we do one fun fold every month, and we have a tutorial with that with 13 different examples of using that fold. I've got that on special at the moment, so annual subscription for $25, which means you're getting 12 cards and 13 cards a month that you could make up different versions of that same card. That's called Fantastic Fun Folds. Like I said, you can find it on my blog. If you love this balloon stamp set, I'm doing a stamp camp with this with 3 other Australian demonstrators. We have different options where if you're in Australia, you can get the kit and you can get a product share to go with that. If you're not in Australia, there's an option to just get the PDF, and we'll have an exclusive Facebook page where we'll show you how to make up the 8 cards that are in that tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed my video today. If you liked my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and have fun with the new catalogue. It is awesome. Speak to you next time. Bye.